So I would like us to have a discussion on the lesson plan. I would like us to look at the objectives, what we want to achieve. Okay, what we want to achieve in this session. And then I was saying that by the end of the session, you will be able to explain the term lesson plan. What is it? And what is all this we are talking about? What is it what goes into it? And then secondly, we would like to say that you will be able to discuss the importance of a lesson plan. Why is lesson plans necessary? Then the third will be to identify and explain the main components of lesson plan. So this is going to be guiding us in our discussion for the an hour or so ahead of us. This is what we will be going through. So as we go, we will have these things in mind. But there is something I don't like, tests and examinations. I don't like them very much. But they say that there is no other way that we would like to find out how our students are performing. So as we journey through, I would like you to put down some questions. If you have not asked any question at all, you have 2 questions that you would like us to look at. So pay attention to the discussions and put down 2 questions that you would like to ask. And then 1 or 2 contributions that you would like to make to all the discussion we are going to do. So these are the 2 things by the end. I would like you to come out with 2 questions you would like to ask for discussion, and then 1 or 2 interventions or your own contributions that you have to make to this. That does not mean that as we go along and you want to chip in something, you are deterred from doing that. You can do that. All right. So now I would like us to look at the teaching process. The teaching process. Teaching is actually a process. It goes from one stage to the other. And first of all, we have what we call before class. Before the teacher goes to class, there is something that he needs to do. Okay, he needs to identify what he has in mind to teach. We will call it objectives. Okay, he needs to think about some activities that will go on in the classroom. Okay, how he is going to teach his lesson, all these things, and how he's even going to assess the children and all that. He needs to do that before he goes to the classroom. And this is what we call the before class, the before class stage. So that is the first stage of the process. And in fact, this is what we intend to do today, lesson preparation. So you prepare your lesson before you go to class. That is the first one. And the second stage of the process is during the class. First, we have before the class, and second, we have during the class. So we would like to see, after you have prepared, what is it that will go on in the classroom? How you are going to, whether you are going to dance with the children, whether you are going to do a discussion, whether you allow them to read or to do a play or whatever, it is up to you. All that we do in the classroom is during the class stage. And the third one is the after class stage. The after class stage is after you have taught the children, you have given them exercises they have done. You as a teacher, you as a catechist, you will sit down and reflect on your work. What has gone on within that 1 hour you were with the children, and you will be honest to see that there are certain things that didn't work well, okay? And if those things didn't work well, what will you do to improve that, to make a difference, to change, so that in your next class, things will be better? If you realize that you succeeded in certain things, it is also an opportunity for you to reflect and put those things down and tell yourself that next time I will continue doing this because this is the reason for my success. If you like, it is like you are going to evaluate yourself. Many times when we talk about evaluation, our mind goes to only the catechumen. They are the ones who will be in, how do you call it? They will be the ones they are going to write exams. They are the ones who will do that. No, it is important though they will do that. We are also saying that the teacher or the catechist would also need to be, I don't know, to evaluate himself, okay? Will need to evaluate himself. So that is how things will be. So as I said, we have 3 stages of the teaching process. We have the before class, during class, and after class. What we are doing today, or we are going to be focusing on before class, what will happen before you will enter the classroom. The subsequent workshops or formation programs we have will go through the other 2 and many other things that will follow. So we continue and would like to look at what is a lesson plan. When somebody asks us, what is a lesson plan? I think we would have a lot to say. My program is not moving, and I don't know why it is not moving. Okay. This is serious. Let's see what can happen. Okay. All right, let's continue. Sorry about that. So we want to look at, when we say a lesson plan, what is it? It's very, very simple. Lesson plans are nothing apart from the instructor's roadmap, okay, of what students need to learn and how it will be done effectively during class time. So what we are trying to say here is that the lesson plan is a design. It is what describes what goes on in the classroom. As simple as that. It is what describes what is going to happen in class. When we come to class, we will see that the teacher will introduce the lesson perhaps with a song, or he will start his lesson by asking the catechumen to answer some few questions to bring their mind onto that. Then after that, he may give them something to read, okay? Then after that, he will explain, or he will put them into groups. All that goes on in the classroom, planning it and writing it down is what we call the lesson plan. Okay, so it is a procedure of what the catechist intends to do with the learners, okay, or with the catechumen. And I will be using students, catechumen, teacher, catechists interchangeably, and I believe that you will bear with me, and that they all mean the same thing. Okay, they all mean the same thing. So briefly, that is about what a lesson plan is. It's a document that tells us what goes on in the classroom. And it is a guide. It is intended to be a guide to the catechist. The catechist, though, needs to do this before going to the classroom. The catechist is not a slave to it. When I say the catechist is not a slave to it, what I mean to say is that you may go to the classroom already prepared what you want to do, okay? But as you get there, the classroom situation can make you to change, modify what will go on in the classroom a bit. So that's why I'm saying you shouldn't be a slave to the lesson plan, though it is supposed to guide you. Because you may end up realizing that you want to sing a particular song to begin the lesson, and then you get there and you realize that the children don't know that song. So the moment they don't know the song, it means that the lesson cannot be started with that song. You would have to change and use another way of introducing your lesson, okay? So that is what we mean by that. Now, I will pose a question. If somebody would like to tell us from what we have done so far, you will begin to think about what is the importance, okay, of a lesson plan. You begin to see why a catechist should prepare his or her lesson before he goes to the catechesis class. So now I open you can talk now. If you want to talk, then you can unmute yourself and then share with us, what do you think will be a reason why lesson plans are important? I'm sure that you have something to share with us. So what do you think would be some importance of a lesson plan? Hey, I take this opportunity to welcome Verity. She has come, and then we welcome her back. So anybody would like to share with us at least one reason why you think lesson plans are important, they are necessary?
Okay, brother, I wanted to try.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. The lesson plan to help you, the catechist, to know what you are supposed to teach in a catechism class. Without that, you just teaching raw. You don't know the head and tail of what you are teaching. But when you prepare the lesson plan, it will let you to know what you are teaching. Like any question that comes, you can answer it because you've thoroughly do research on it and you've read a lot about what you are going to teach. So in case the children even ask, know what you are going to tell them.
Okay, that is good. I'm happy you have nailed, hits the hammer on the head of the nail. You will find it difficult to teach. You will be struggling. So that is beautiful. Thank you very much. Okay. Somebody has said something here. Verity has a point here. And I think she has written something here. Let me read it. She's saying that it will keep your class organized, okay? It keeps your class organized. That's good. Because if you know you want to say that at this point, this person will talk, it goes that way. If you know what to do, in fact, you will not waste time and things like that. Then he was saying that she's saying it gives you a start and a finish point. That's also good. You will plan in such a way that I will move from this, and when I finish this, I will do that. I will teach first of all baptism. From baptism, I will go to confirmation. From confirmation, I will move. So you know what step you want to take. So where you want to start, and where you want to finish. That's beautiful. And she says that it will prevent you from running around. I think that's the same thing Emmanuel has shared with us. Thank you very much. These are very good insights to the reason why we prepare our lessons. Okay. All right, as we go about, I will be asking such questions. So let's continue, and we continue with what I have put down here. And so I said something here that it gives the teacher, it gives the catechist greater assurance and greater freedom in teaching. You know, sometimes when you are teaching and you have not done a lot of reading, Emmanuel made it clear that in your lesson preparation, you need to do a research. You need to research. As you go to the classroom and you don't read more, you may go to teach the catechumen things that are your own thinking. So it is important to make sure that what you are teaching is really exact thing you should teach. It's true that we have been Catholics for years, and we have practiced some of these things. But when you are going to teach, it's good to read around it so that it gives you the confidence. Okay, so you are assured of what you are teaching. So that is the first importance that this can help us to achieve. And the second thing is that it provides for adequate lesson summaries. You know, when you are teaching and you have a concept, an idea that you want to explain, after the explanation or whatever you have done, it will be good for you to make a short summary of that. That will make it easier for the catechumen to take home. And so if preparations are not done, it makes it very difficult. And then he says that ensures a definite assignment for the class and the availability of materials for the lesson when needed. So when you are preparing your lesson, you have in mind that these are the type of assignments I'm going to give. And so if you do not cover these areas, you will not do the assignments because you know very well that you have not got there. And then the second part of it is saying that it makes you to provide materials that you need for the lesson. If you need to, you are going to teach about fruits of the Holy Spirit. And I know many of you are generous catechists. Many of you, you even buy things for the catechumen. So you may like to buy fruits. You may like to buy fruits and take to the class and let them eat it and feel what it means to eat fruit. Okay, and you begin from there. You begin to teach about the fruits of the Holy Spirit. Perhaps this will make your lesson interesting. Just to say materials. So it helps you to prepare lesson materials, teaching learning materials down so that they are readily available in the class. It is not only when you realize that, hey, I need water to demonstrate baptism, then you send the children to move about looking for water left, right, center. No. So it helps you to get things available. Okay. The third thing I thought we consider about this is it stimulates the catechists to introduce pivotal questions and illustrations. What we mean here is that when the teacher is prepared, very necessary and important activities that goes on in the classroom, he introduces them at the right time, okay? And uses them because he knows and has planned the stages or the steps that will happen in the classroom, okay? Yeah, so let's move to the fourth. Okay, the fourth importance is that it provides and encourages continuity in the teaching being given. Okay, what we mean here is that all that we teach has a kind of connections and continuity. You start by maybe teaching sacraments, and you start with baptism, and you reach, let's say, you reach anointing of the sick, and perhaps first year, this is what you will teach. You will not touch it again until they reach second year. It acts as a record there so that you will know that I have done this, and therefore the next thing that I'm going to do will be that. So it helps you not to confuse the children. So you continue right at the place that each one or each concept is supposed to be. So we are saying that the lesson planning is done in such a way that the concepts are connected in a certain way. And so you make sure that with the lesson plan already prepared, it helps you to connect things very well. You may realize that one concept or one subject, one topic is related to another thing. And you need this particular concept before you can introduce another thing. So if you don't prepare your lessons, you will find it difficult to get things in their right perspective. Okay. Then the fifth one is that it ensures association between various lessons in the same main unit. In the same main unit, the selection and the organization of subject matter, materials, and activities. All these things, they are like what I said in number 4. Apart from the process itself that it helps you to keep continuity, it helps also in the subject matter, the items, the topics, the various topics, and the materials that are needed for the activities. It helps you to keep them in their perspective. Okay. I think we will end with the importance here and continue with the main components of the lesson plan. So as we said before, it is important for us to have a lesson plan because first of all, it gives us confidence of what we are teaching. It helps in connecting the topics and ideas. Also, the materials that are needed for us in order to make them readily available, we need to prepare ourselves for that. And as you have already added some of the ideas, it helps you to know where you are starting from, where you are ending, so that you don't mix up things. Now let's look at the main components of a lesson plan. The main components of a lesson plan. So our lesson plan must have these I have mentioned here. First of all, we know that we have a subject. The subject in our case that we are teaching is catechesis. That is our subject or the course. But we will need a topic or a subtopic. Then we have the learning objectives. What you have in mind. I will explain all these things. Then also we have the learning activities. What would happen in the classroom? Then we have assessment. Okay, assessments to check for the understanding of your catechumen. It is important, as I was telling you, I'm one of the people who don't like tests and exams, but we have no other way. Okay, we have no other choice. So we will look at them one after the other. So first of all, what do we mean by the topic? The topic is the subtopic is the specific area of the subjects. that the catechist wishes to explore with the catechumen or the students. It is just an aspect, okay, a small area of the main thing that we have, okay? And we are saying that it is expected that the topic causes a positive change in the life of the learner, okay? So whatever topic we have is not picked from anywhere. First of all, it is coming from catechesis. We will not go and be treating something about science that has no relationship with catechesis in our case. So we will go and consult the Catechism of the Catholic Church or other documents that are taken from catechism. Then this is what we are going to pick and teach. So in our case, this is what we will consider as topic. And as we are saying, the topic is not picked for the picking's sake. We pick it so that we will explore, we will discuss with the children to have an impact in their life. We want to have a change in their life. If our intention is to have people who practice forgiveness, then this topic should be geared towards this. Then we can say that it's a topic that will have a positive influence on our children. I was talking about subjects and then topic and subtopic. If you see the diagram I have put there, you will see on top, we can say that is the subject, catechesis. And under catechesis, we have topics. I have put 2 topics. One of them, the 10 Commandments, and the other, the Blessed Trinity. So these are, we can call them topics. Then under 10 Commandments, we can have thou or you shall not steal, for example, as a subtopic you would like to treat, or you shall not kill. It's a subtopic. And again, under Blessed Trinity, you have one God, or you have divine persons. These can be subtopics that you want to treat. So what we are simply saying is that you can have a topic that is so broad and you will not be able to handle it at a go in a class. Therefore, you break this into subtopics, okay, so that you can handle them one after the other, okay? So this is just to explain about the topic. So we are saying that the topic is the specific area of the subject or of catechesis that the catechist intends to explore with the children. And it must not be anything, something that is related to the positive change in the life of the catechumen. Okay. Then the next thing we talk about is the learning objectives. Learning objectives. As we go along and anybody has a question, feel free to put in the chat place so that I will be able to read and address them. The next thing is the learning activities. Sorry, learning objectives. What do we mean by learning objectives? Objective in the ordinary sense of the word is where somebody wishes to go or what somebody intends to achieve. Okay, so in our lessons also, we need to have objectives. We need to have intention. This class that we have on Saturday, this particular class, what do I want to teach? What do I want the children to achieve today? So this is what we are saying, that the learning objectives describe the behaviors, the skills or attitudes the catechist intends the catechumen should have by the end of the lesson. Okay? When we would have danced, when we would have sung our songs, when we would have done our plays and all that, are these things keeping me to achieve this? Will this allow the children to begin to be loving? Would it allow the children to understand that stealing is bad? Would it help the children to know that forgiveness is good? So all these things that we want the children to achieve at the end of the class is what our objective is. That is the main point that is at the back of our mind. So when you go to the classroom and you ask the children to do something, don't let them do anything without making sure that that thing is connected with the objective of your class that day. Okay, that is it. Then we say that the objectives should be related to the subject and the topic. So what we are saying is this: when you want to create or write your objective, you will not write anything from anywhere, but you make sure that it is connected with catechesis, and particularly it is connected with the topic you are treating that day. Then you are writing a good objective. Okay, we'll come to when and we'll come to how to write an objective. How to write an objective. But this is what we are saying, that it must be related to the subject and also the topic. Then, lastly, they are stated in clear and simple terms. Remember that your objectives are not going to be read by somebody somewhere. Sometimes it is even important for us to put these objectives on the board for the children to read, to know where we are going. So it should be in simple and the clear terms. Remember, when we prepare lesson notes, it's one of the importance, so we didn't discuss it. But there is a document that when you, the teacher, you are not there, when you, the catechist, you are not there, we can give it to another catechist to handle the class. So if you write your objective in a language that is very difficult to understand, you go and then check all your dictionaries and bring all the big words, and we do not understand you, then we may not know what you want to teach your children that day in the class. So that's why we want it to be very clear, and it should be very simple and straight to the point. Okay, straight point. Now, objectives have certain characteristics. Objectives have certain characteristics, and I would like us to run through them so that when you write an objective, people will say that this is an objective that deserves the name. First of all, every objective must be very, very specific. It should be straight to the point. It shouldn't be vague. Okay, it shouldn't be vague. It should be specific. It shouldn't be broad. It should be specific on a particular thing. If you want the child to be able to define sacrament, and you are writing, you will state it specifically, definition of sacrament. Okay, it should be specific. And then the second characteristic we have is that objectives must be measurable, meaning that it shouldn't be a thing that is written and we cannot quantify it when we want to see whether the child has achieved that or not. Because don't forget, at the end of the class, we will do evaluation, or what we call assessment. We shall ask perhaps the children to do something for us to see whether they have achieved what we want to teach that day. So it should be something that you will be able to assess. You will be able to assess. If you write how do you call it, an objective, and you say the child will be able to operate on a sick person. This child will not be able to go and divide somebody's stomach and open it and what. So it is impossible for you to measure that. So if you say at the end of the lesson, the child will be able to operate upon a sick person or will be able to conduct a postmortem, they are not measurable. And so at that age, so the child will not be able to perform such a thing. And therefore, we are saying that your objective seem not measurable. You can't measure it because the child will not be able to do that. Then again, it's related to the next, which is achievable. The objective should be achievable, meaning that it is something that the child will be able to do. And when we are writing objectives, we consider the age of the children. So if you want the child, you are saying by the end of the lesson, the child will be able to celebrate Mass. In the first place, the child will not be able to celebrate Mass because he's not a priest. So if you mention such a thing, it means somebody will say that your objective is not achievable. Your objective cannot be achieved. So the child will be struggling, and will not get there. It means you have set an objective that is high above what the children can do. This is what we are talking about by saying that it should be achievable. Should be achievable. Then also, the third one is that the objectives should be realistic. Okay, these three seem to be very, very related. So that if you want to do something and you are dreaming, okay, your objective will pose you to be somebody dreaming. You want to say that by the end of the lesson, the children should be able to explain all the sacraments from the beginning to the end. And this is the first time you are introducing them to them. Is it realistic? You will realize that you are overstretching them. Even children, when we are teaching them, we say that at a certain age, they should be able to read, to count 1 to only 5. Okay? 1 to 5. It is realistic at their age that they will be able to count from 1 to 5, maybe when they are 6 years. Okay? But if you say they should count 1 to 100, then we will say that you have stated an objective that is not realistic. You are in a dreamland. You are saying things that are not possible. Okay? Then the last one is that your objective must be time-bound. It should have a time by which that should be achieved. If the objective is by the end of the term, by the end of the semester, we know that you are saying that from this time up to that, you want to achieve this. But usually, learning objectives are set within the class time. That is why you will set an objective that is very simple and brief so that you are able to achieve in the class. Even though some of them, you may need some other times of the lessons to be able to achieve, okay? So you will realize that when we put all these things together, it sounds like SMART, isn't it? Just to help us remember what we are dealing with. We are saying that your objectives must be SMART. It should be specific for S. It should be measurable for M. It should be achievable for A. R, realistic. It should be timely or time bound. That's okay. Should be time bound. So that when we are setting our objectives, we will be able to set them in a way that they will be achieved. I am seeing a hand up. Is the hand? I am sure that the hand is only is down. So it is smart. You can keep this in mind. You can keep this in mind. So I want to give you an example of maybe an objective, a learning objective that you would like to have. Perhaps you will say that by the end of the lesson, the catechumen will be able to define the term sacrament. This, you will realize that it is specific. We are talking about only sacraments. And it's talking about not all about sacrament, but only definition of sacrament. Definition of sacrament. It's specific. So that at the end of the day, when you ask the child to produce it and he's able to produce it, then you will say it is measurable. You are able to measure it. Okay? And you realize that what you are talking about is possible to achieve. And it is also realistic. Looking at the age of the child and looking at what you have taught that day, you are able to say that this is really realistic, that the child will be able to do that. Then when do you want to assess it? At the end of the class. Okay? By the end of the class. So when we are writing the objective, we keep all these things in mind so that we will say that our objective is SMART. When we will be starting to, we will prepare a lesson, we will go more into how to write the learning objectives. Okay. Now I want us to move to learning activities. Learning activities. We have dealt with the topic. We have dealt with the learning objective. Now we want to look at activities. What goes on in the classroom? So we are saying that this part of the lesson plan entails the types of activities students or catechumen will need to be engaged in order to develop the skills and knowledge required to demonstrate effective learning in the course. So what we are simply saying is that all that the teacher wants to do with the children in the classroom, we call it learning activities. It could be reading, it could be dancing, it could be singing, it could be, I don't know, jumping up and down, it could be hide and seek. It would depend. But what we are trying to say here is that it should be related directly, okay, to the learning objectives of catechesis. Okay, so that is very, very important. It should be very, very, very related to that. You don't just do any activity in the class for doing sake. It should be, you should ask yourself, how is this leading to achieving my objectives? How is it leading to achieving my objectives in the class? And how is it related to my topic? Then the last thing we said about it is that it should provide experiences that will enable the students to engage in. Okay? If the activities you have asked the children to do is something they cannot do, then something is wrong with your activities. Sometimes we have challenges here. You realize that you have a student in your class who is a handicapped person. he or she is suffering from a leg problem or a hand problem, and you ask the children to jump, you end up struggling. So that's why we are saying that when you want to plan an activity for your children, make sure it is something that they can be engaged in, that they can do. Okay? If it is beyond their ability, if it is beyond what they can do, you will fail. So it should be also something that they can practice, especially practice on their own. Something they will be able to practice, because they say practice makes perfect. Okay, so we need to see that they are able to practice, they are able to be engaged in, and gain feedback on specific progress towards the learning objectives. So what we are saying is that all that they are going to do, we should make sure that the activities there are not beyond the age, okay, the age and the ability of our children or the catechumen. This is about all that needs to happen in the classroom. But then, when you are planning your learning activities, it is important to have some questions in mind. It is very, very important for you to have some questions in mind. One, what will I do to explain the topic? That's why Emmanuel tells us that you need to research well about your topic before you go to class. And so it is important. So look at the question you'll be asking yourself. What will I do to explain the topic? The second one, what will I do to illustrate the topic in a different way? You know that sometimes when you are in a class and you use one way to explain a concept, it may go for somebody, but another person may need another way to explain the same thing. Maybe one way you do it is to use it by word of mouth, but another way is maybe to demonstrate, okay, without talking, but you do it yourself, or yeah, there's no other way than to say to demonstrate. You do what you want to say with your mouth, you perform it. Okay, you perform it. Maybe you want to perform how to be kind. Okay, and then you create something like a short play, and then you do that. So what will I do to illustrate the topic, to explain this topic in a different way? And it is very, very important, as I said, when you are explaining things, to explain in various ways, and then that gives opportunity for different children who are in your class to get the idea clearly. Then another question is, how can I engage catechumen in the topic? How do you bring them in? Sometimes our children, you go to the class and you say everything and nothing appeals to them. They keep quiet and they look at you from the beginning to the end. The other day I was asking one whether he was not happy. He will not talk. He will not do anything. So this is where the challenge is for us as catechists. Okay, what will you do to bring the child, to bring the catechumen to be involved in the topic? Okay, so sometimes it will be necessary for us to crack jokes, to bring some funny things that can keep the children into it. Okay, or sometimes call them to the front and ask them to perform something. So we will do it in a way that the children will be able to engage. We shouldn't force them in any way, but it should be a way that it can stimulate them. It will stimulate them to be able to come out to perform, okay, or to be engaged in the class. Remember, if the children are not engaged in the class, it will only be talking, just as I'm doing. You see, you want to be talking, you go and talk and go. But it is important that the children are involved by asking questions. Maybe you don't have to tell them, do you have any question to ask at all costs? But we can present the topic in such a way that the child would want to ask a question about it. Okay, these are the ways they are engaging themselves. Or they would like to make a contribution. They would like to also add their voice to the topic. So we should find a way of engaging them. Okay? Then the last one, a question you need to ask yourself is, what will catechumen need to do to help them understand the topic better? Again, it related to the previous. What is it that if they themselves do will lead to the understanding of the question? So our intention of bringing learning activities is not only because we want them to do something, but we want them to understand the topic we are teaching. So what is it that when they do will lead to understanding of the topic? Maybe you will ask them to go and read about a particular thing. It's also a learning activity. Learning activity, though, as we are saying, is related to what goes on in the classroom. Sometimes it can go beyond what is in the classroom. And ask them to do something at home, and it is part of a learning activity. Okay. So now let's look at the last thing, and then we will be getting to the close. The last component of the lesson plan is assessment. The assessment. How do you want to tell? How would you want to tell that your children have got what you want to teach or what you have been teaching? You want to gauge it, okay? It's just like you want to go to the market and buy, how do you call it? Olonka of Gary, and you bring it to the house and people think that you have been cheated, because you realize that the people usually, Verity knows better here, you use the stone to hit the under of the olonka, so that when you put a few grains of gari in it, it gets full. Okay, so when you come home, the people would like to find out whether you have not been cheated or you were not cheated. So you have to measure with the olonka in the house. So you too, after teaching, you have to find out whether the children have understood you. So we are saying that this is what assessment is called assessment. And assessment refers to all processes by which the catechist finds out the level of learning taking place in the catechumen. So in our case, we want to see the level of improvement we have seen in the lives of our children. It is not only by parroting it out that they will tell us, they mention the sacraments, they mention the 10 commandments. Yes, it's part of it. But in all cases, we want to see how they are learning, how all that we have been teaching, the progress they have been making with this. So this is an assessment. We can do that by quizzes. We can do that by tests. We can do that by performance. Performance means maybe you ask them to come and act. Okay? You can even observe. You can observe them to see whether they are living what you have been teaching. Okay? So we are saying that this must be related always to the topic, and it should be related to the object. So when we want to assess the children, we want to say that we want to measure whether our objective has been achieved in the children. Okay? In the children. So basically, this is what we intend to do with the assessment. So before we conclude, so what we are saying is that we have moved through what it means, the objectives of the lesson, and then we talked about the processes, or the process that involves teaching. And we said we have before class, we have during class, what happens during class, and then we have also what happens after the class. We then talked about what is a lesson plan, and we said it is a guide. it is a guide that describes what happens in the classroom. Okay, what happens in the classroom. And we said that the lesson plan has some components. It has some components, the main elements that form the lesson plan. Though we talk about the importance, I don't want to talk about them again, but we talk about the topic, we talk about the learning objectives, also learning activities, and then we discuss the assessment. Okay, all these things we have moved through them one by one. So, my dear brothers, my dear sisters, I think so far we have come to the end of the presentation.